So guys, today we're going to be comparing the S23 Plus to the S22 Ultra here. This is a very good comparison because this is very interesting because they're about the same price, but I think the S22 Ultra might be a little bit cheaper. It actually might be like $100 cheaper. Yeah, because you can find it for like $400 now. The S23 you can see around, close to 500. Cheapest I see it is $459. But yeah. Let's go ahead and get into this. So very interesting here. So let's talk about the overall design here. So you are getting a bigger phone here with the S22 Ultra, and it is definitely more boxy. So it's not as comfortable to hold as the S23 Plus here. And you do have a glass and metal design on both of these as well too. Both phones are really nice to look at. They pretty much have similar camera setups as well too. But yeah, I would say hardware wise, they both look really good, but I really like how comfortable the S23 is. Now, the selling point with the S22 is obviously the S Pen here. You have a built-in S Pen, which is something that the S23 lacks, and you can pretty much do digital artwork with this. You can use it to write down notes. Samsung has really good software as well too with the S Pen, and you can do a smart select screen write and a bunch of other stuff. Here, add shortcuts. You can also use it to, like, if you're a digital content creator, you just press the button, take a picture from a distance, video. So it's a very cool little pen to have for sure. Alright, so let's talk about the overall displays here. So the S23 Plus has a 6.6-inch display. It's dynamic AMOLED, 120 Hz HDR10 Plus, 1750 nits peak brightness at a 1080p resolution at 393 for the PPI. The S22 has a more squared off screen, so it kind of looks more like a TV, but again sharp on the edges. Now this has a curved panel compared to this flat panel, and this is 1440p, pretty much with the same screen. It's a dynamic AMOLED display, 120 Hz HDR10 Plus, again same max brightness at 1750 nits, but again it's 1440p at 500 for the PPI. The both screens pretty much look identical. Even resolution wise, you would really have to pull up like 1440p video or images to really see it, and like I said, most people, it's just really hard to tell the difference, like if you're looking at it from this distance. But yeah, so both displays are great color wise. They pretty much look identical as well too. So really nice displays. It really just comes down to, do you want a flat or a curved display as well. A lot of people like the flat panels because it's easier to apply the screen protectors and stuff like that. But yeah, as far as displays, this one's slightly bigger, slightly higher resolution. This one, it looks good, slightly smaller, easier to hold, not much of a difference here. Alright, so let's talk about the specs here. So this is pretty interesting, which a lot of people want to know. So you can see obviously the S23 is going to have better single and multi-core scores. They're both running One UI 6.1, and they both have the AI features and all that good stuff. But yeah, so let's go ahead and talk about just some small differences here. So the S23 has the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 with the 256 gigs of internal storage, 8 gigs of RAM on the base. And this S22, this one is a Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 with 128 gigs and 8 gigs of RAM. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about it. So obviously, it's going to have a better single and multi-core score. Now I downloaded the wildlife benchmarks, and I ran several benchmark tests, as you guys can see. So we'll start here with the Nomad Lite, so you guys can see, again, look at the frame rates, and then we come down here, you can see the battery drain on this test, and then also the temperature as well as the frame rates as well too. And on this test, this was just a longer test, like 20 minutes. And you can see here battery drain, also the temperature as well too, and the FPS as well. And then this was the last test, the Wildlife Extreme Stress Test. And you can see the scores here. So if you guys want to look at these graphs and compare them, a lot of people wanted to see these. So you guys can see battery life, again, temperature, and then your FPS as well. So obviously, you're going to have a more powerful phone on the S23 as far as benchmarks and stuff like that. Now, as far as using the phones, they pretty much feel identical in terms of speed, guys. So you're in games, you'll pretty much get the same experience here as far as, you know, your gaming settings at least. So when you're in PUBG, you can see on the S23 we got Ultra Extreme on here. So it's a very, very smooth experience on here. And we should have Ultra Extreme on this one as well. No, we only have Extreme Plus. Alright, so you do have better settings on the S23 Plus. So that's pretty interesting. But yeah, so technically you do have better gaming settings on the S23. It is going to be a little bit smoother as far as FPS. I'm not sure how many other games you'll get the full 120 frames. But this one plays great at 90 frames, but you can immediately tell the difference when it's running at 120 frames. I'm not sure, again, how many other games, you know, this will translate to. But yes, the S23 Plus is technically, as far as benchmarks, going to be the better gaming device. But if you're more of a casual gamer, they'll be pretty similar in terms of, you know, just being able to get a couple matches in. Alright, let's check out these speakers at max volume here. Alright, so the S23 Plus definitely has the better sounding speakers. It just has a little bit more bass to it, and overall it just sounds a little bit fuller and more balanced sound. So definitely slightly better speakers on the S23 Plus. Now both these phones actually have the pretty much the same Galaxy AI features, but there is one feature missing. It's a very small thing, but you can see here essentially all the same stuff. What you will notice that you don't have on the S22 is actually the slow-mo to hold down. So I'll show you guys that. Gallery. So basically, click on the video. You can see I don't have that slow-mo. Click on this one. You can see, get that little animation, then I get the slow-mo by doing that. It doesn't have that, the S22, but it has everything else. But essentially you got the same stuff. So everything is going to be on here as far as, you know, features goes. Alright, so let's talk about the cameras on both of these devices here. So on the S23, you do have a 50 megapixel standard, a 10 megapixel telephoto, 3x optical, with a 12 megapixel ultra wide. It shoots in 8K 30 with a 12 megapixel selfie that shoots in 4K 60. You also have a max zoom of 30. And then also on the S22, you have a 108 megapixel standard, a 10 megapixel telephoto with 3x, and then a 10 megapixel periscope telephoto with 10x, and an ultra wide camera at 12 megapixels, and this shoots in 8K 24. And you also have a 40 megapixel selfie that shoots in 4K 60. This has a max zoom of 100x. So check out these side by side stills and photos and let me know what you guys think. All right, so battery life, you have a 4700 milliamp hour battery on the S23, 45 watt charging with wireless and reverse wireless charging, and then you have a 5000 milliamp battery on the S22 with 45 watt charging, also with wireless and reverse wireless charging. Battery life on the S23 Plus seems to be a little bit better. To me, it's just getting better screen on time in my opinion. The S22 Ultra, since it got the One UI 6.1 update, the standby time has been a little bit better, but screen on time is decent, but I don't think it's as good as the S23 Plus. And it could be, various reasons, the chip. It could also be, just the 1440p on here as well too. So it's not terrible battery life on the S22 Ultra, but I think the S23 Plus just has slightly better battery life. So what do you guys think? Be sure to let me know what you guys think, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.